It is 1880. You are standing at the edge of the American River in California. Around you, men are breaking apart solid rock with hammers and bare hands. They are building their own prison. There is no wall yet, no fence. Just men, granite, and armed guards on horseback. On July 26, 1880, the first 44 inmates arrive, transferred by boat from San Quentin, then loaded onto a train. They have no idea what they are walking into. Nobody does. What they are building will still be standing 145 years later. This is Folsom State Prison, California's second prison. One of America's first maximum security prisons, and the first prison anywhere in the world to have electric power. But before we get to any of that, you need to know what this place was designed to do. It wasn't built for regular criminals. Folsom was built for the ones no other prison could handle. The official description at the time called them habitual criminals and incorrigibles. In plain language, people the state had given up on. Folsom was the last stop. If you ended up here, you were not expected to come back. The original cells at Folsom were 4 feet wide and 8 feet long. That is smaller than most bathroom floors. The door was solid iron, no window, no light. Just a 6-inch slot at eye level, so guards could check if you were still alive. Inmates spent most of their time in complete darkness. There was no wall surrounding the prison for the first 43 years. That sounds like good news for inmates, but it wasn't. Guards were everywhere, armed and watching. The first escape attempt happened within weeks of the prison opening. It failed. Most of them did. In 1903, 13 inmates armed with knives rushed the guards during a meal. 1 guard was killed. 6 inmates were eventually recaptured. 1 was shot dead. And six men simply vanished. They were never found. By 1920, inmates had gotten more creative. 3 men hijacked the prison's own supply train and rammed it through a gate to escape. The wall was finally finished in 1923, built by the prisoners themselves out of the same granite they had been quarrying for decades. The prison that held them was literally made by their hands. Thanksgiving Day, 1927, inmates were trying to break out again. By the time it was over, 14 people were dead, including an unarmed guard named Ray Tyree Singleton. 6 men were convicted. All 6 were eventually sentenced to death. In 1937, the warden himself, Clarence Larkin, was stabbed during an escape attempt. He died from his wounds. He is still the only California warden ever killed while on the job. Then came the era that many consider the darkest in Folsom's history, the 1970s and 1980s. Prison gangs took over. The Mexican Mafia, the Black Guerrilla Family, the Aryan Brotherhood. They did not just exist inside Folsom. They operated, controlled, and they recruited. One gang was actually born inside Folsom's walls. They called themselves Kumi 415. The 415 comes from San Francisco's area code. Add those 3 numbers together, 4, 1, 5, and you get 10. Kumi is the Swahili word for 10. A gang founded in an American prison, named in an African language, built on a math problem. That is how deep the culture inside these walls ran. By 2009, Folsom was so overcrowded it held over 4,400 inmates, more than double its intended capacity. The following year, a riot involving 200 men broke out. Officers fired weapons. 7 people were hospitalized. As recently as March 2025, a riot broke out with 5 inmates stabbed. In July 2025, a man was murdered inside. Folsom is not history. It is still happening. Drop a comment below. Did you know prisons could get this dark? Tell us what surprised you most so far. Now here is the twist nobody talks about. In 1953, a young man in the United States Air Force sat down to watch a movie about Folsom Prison. He had never been there. He had never served any real prison time. But something about that film hit him so hard that he went away and wrote a song from the point of view of a man trapped inside Folsom Prison who shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. That young man was Johnny Cash, and the song was Folsom Prison Blues. Inmates heard that song on the radio, and they wrote Cash letters. Hundreds of them. They felt like he understood them, like he had lived what they were living. He hadn't, but he showed up anyway. On January 13th, 1968, Cash walked into Folsom with his band, his guitar, and his future wife, June Carter. His career was in trouble. He had battled addiction for years. He needed something real. Folsom needed something human. They found each other. The night before the concert, a prison chaplain slipped Cash a cassette tape. On it was a song written by an inmate named Glenn Shirley, a man sitting inside Folsom right now serving time, who had written about the prison chapel. Cash learned the song overnight. The next day, he performed it in front of Shirley, who had no idea it was coming. When Cash finished, the room exploded. Shirley reportedly wept. The concert was recorded. The album, at Folsom Prison, went to #1 on the country charts and hit the top 15 nationally. Cash became a prison reform spokesperson. He testified before Congress. He met with President Nixon. He did at least 30 prison concerts in his lifetime. One song, written by a man who had never done hard time, changed the way an entire country thought about the people locked inside places like Folsom. That is not an exaggeration. That is just what music can do when it tells the truth. Here is something Folsom never gets credit for. It helped feed America. In the 1890s, the prison built an ice plant. At the time, California's fruit farmers had no way to ship perishable goods across the country. The ice from Folsom's plant changed that. By 1909, California was shipping $12 million worth of oranges packed in Folsom ice to the East Coast. By 1930, that number had grown to $100 million. The state's fruit industry exists, in part, because of prison labor. Since the 1930s, every single California license plate, every one, has been made at Folsom. Around 50,000 plates leave that factory every single day, and the prison's granite didn't just build the walls. It built part of the California state capitol. Roads were paved with it. The same rock that became a cage became the foundation of a government. Folsom today is not what it was. The prison now runs college programs through Folsom Lake College. Students inside earn real degrees. Their recidivism rate, the rate at which they return to prison after release, is under 2%. The state average is 60%. Education is doing what walls never could. There are vocational programs: welding, auto mechanics, masonry. A substance abuse treatment program that graduates around 40 people a month. Restorative justice sessions where offenders sit across from victims and face what they did. The prison cemetery sits on a hill above Folsom Dam. For decades, the graves had only numbers on them. No names, no history. In 2018, a group of volunteers began researching the records, and slowly, one by one, names came back to the stones. Those men had been forgotten. Now they are not. That might be the most surprising thing about Folsom State Prison. Not the violence, not the gangs, not even Johnny Cash. It is the fact that after 145 years, after all the blood and the darkness and the escapes and the riots, people are still trying to find the humanity inside those granite walls. And sometimes they actually do. If you made it this far, subscribe. We cover the stories history books skip, and there are more like this one coming. Hit the bell so you never miss them.